what is the target for the DC animated universe versus what is the target?
Guys like me. Yeah.
And versus what is the target for My Little Pony officially?
Guys like me. No, I'm just kidding. 12-year-old, probably 4 to 12-year-old girls, I would say.
Yeah, that would be about the right target demographic. But like I said, they're not writing for the target. Mm-hmm. They're writing for an audience.
Okay.
And it just happens that they are doing a phenomenal job of it.
So I understand your point of... David, you're on mute again.
So you guys talk about dialogue about My Little Pony. You're talking about the current series or the series back, like the Sunbow series?
No, the current incarnation.
80s. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Friendship is magic.
So the fascination or the fandom of My Little Pony. Again, I have to ask, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a dick.
No. By all means,
is there a sexual component to being a brony? Like, and it may not mean you particular find it to be a sexual thing, but do bronies in the community, is it a sexual thing?
For some, sure. Just like with every other subculture, and it's no different. Furry, brony is a subset of furry, regardless of what they want to claim otherwise.
That makes sense.
If furry is defined as an appreciation for anthropomorphized art, anybody who likes Mickey Mouse or the Transformers or My Little Toast or the Brave Little Toaster or toys or ants, it all comes down to: is it not human? Does it act human? Well, congratulations, you qualify under the quote-unquote furry culture. And if you want to slice and dice it down further, go right ahead. But just like everybody else, are there some people that look at it and think, yeah, I'd like to do that? Sure. I completely understand that, because there are fetishes for freaking anything and everything. So why the hell not? Am I going to encourage it in areas where the target demographic might see it? Absolutely not. But what adults want to enjoy, it's no worse than some of the stuff that comes out of Japan, and I'm not kidding about that one. There's some weird stuff that comes out of there. But
for sure. Sorry to interrupt you. I wouldn't say worse than, because for me, like, the way that I look at it is my fetish or my kink would be outlandish to somebody else. So just because yours isn't normal, or to me, and I won't say normal in general, I just say just because it's not my norm doesn't mean it's not your norm. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So I wouldn't say worse then. I wouldn't say worse, because sexuality is something that you can't box like that.
Right. And the reason why I was saying it that way is because in Japan especially, you can get away with drawn images that are far and away out of the typical sexual norms or the societal norms. For instance, rape culture in print as art, comics, is just another everyday thing that's on the shelves that you can buy next to a newspaper.
And their actual rape is down, though.
Yeah.
The society itself has a lot less rape than a regressive society like North America.
Right. I mean, there are a lot of things like that. There's a couple of areas I know that we don't have any filters, as you say, but I'm going to self-censor myself on one particular item.
Okay.
There are lots of different things that, again, as drawn images, as cartoons, as comics, they whatever, don't care. But as I keep saying, you want to enjoy war movies, you want to enjoy shoot-em-ups, you want to enjoy horror movies, hackers / gore, fine. But once you cross over into actually doing, that's when you and I are going to have a very long conversation about what we're going to do about you. And, for me, the furry culture, is there a sexual aspect? Well, yes. But is there a sexual aspect to our human society too? Sure. Is it first here? No. Second or even third? Generally speaking, no. Closeness and affection? And is it still there? Well, sure. But you end up with the sex sells mantra with everything, and well, all of a sudden everything gets blown out of proportion like crazy, and it sells newspapers or sells advertising time on TV. So, I don't mind talking about it because I at least know full well I've had a number of people who've said, if anybody's going to talk about it, I want it to be Kage, and Shu, I want it to be you too.
Shujin,
What was your favorite cartoon in the 80s?
Oh, you're not going to like this. You're not going to like this at all. Black Star.
Black Star. I've heard of Brave Star, but I've not heard of Black Star.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
What's that one about?
Black Star is an astronaut went through a black hole into a new universe and ends up on a planet trying to help some people get out from underneath the oppressive thumb of somebody called the Overlord, who basically ruled by the might of something called the Power Star, which was a giant double broadsword that was split in half that had magical powers and essences. And I liked it, and I've rewatched some of those episodes, and oh my god, I must have been high on something, because that was really not that good at all. But the sword was cool.
Yeah, I'm looking it up on YouTube right now. It's definitely a cartoon I've not seen, but it definitely sounds like a typical 80s narrative. It looks like Filmation. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Your radio show, Shujin, what is that all about?
Okay, short version. The Friday nights, or most of the nights during the week, I DJ in Second Life. Usually it's music. Friday night we do effectively a morning zoo at night, kind of a TGIF kind of thing. And
Which I have experience, by the way.
And a couple of years ago, we had been getting a little bit more onto the news as far as to the crap that was happening with religious organizations and how it was very negatively impacting people, to put it nicely. And we got some people that were just like, dude, this is not being fun anymore. Could you not do that? And that's when it was kind of like, oh, yeah, we should really not do that. So I started to investigate, taking that part of the show and moving it out from that, moving it into its own thing. And I started to think about it, and I had been listening to a couple of other podcasts, George Robb, for instance, which really got me, because a couple of the other DJ hosts had been talking about it, and I finally got to doing it. And
George Robb fan right here, yeah,
yep.
big Robb fan.
And we basically just kind of got it started because a couple of these other guys, Cash from Atheist on Air, also had kind of given a little push, and we kind of got it started. And it was really rough at first because new technology, never really done anything like that before. And we got it started. And like I said, I want to have as many perspectives as possible because I'm not going to see everything. And no two people are going to see the same thing. You get up to, 5, 7, in our case, 8 people simultaneously looking at a story or an event. We're all going to see something a little bit different because of who we are, how we've grown up, what we've learned to go looking for. And suddenly you get a much more diverse idea of what an issue is. And we don't even bother looking to find out how do you solve this problem. No, we just look at it and go, okay, how should we be looking at it to try and figure out where the solutions are? And that's where I really feel like our niche is. We're not going to answer a question. We're just going to go through it and go, what did we miss?
Shujin, I thank you for that. Like, honestly, I've never met a furry before. I never even really thought that I would meet somebody that was a furry or that would admit to it. Not that it's a bad thing to admit to it, in my view, anyways. And certainly one of the, I would say, the most interesting guests that we've had so far, to tell me something that I've never heard before. For sure, I thank you for that.
The night she is still young.
and the more you know logo just flew past screen on NBC.
For sure. Chris, we're going into commercials. We'll be right back with the show.
Sometimes there's a man. I won't say hero. Well, I won't say man either. More like a sarcastic 2-inch tall Lego minifigure bent on world domination. I'm talking about Lego Darwin. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me on this totally groovy day. Deadhead Animation presents the internet's #1 most trusted anthropomorphic plastic toy. I mean, some guy wrote that in a forum on the internet, so it must be true, right? Lego Darwin as Lego Darwin in Lego Darwin. They care nothing about the dangerous health effects on people living near these towers of doom. Bringing you everything you need to know about the news, politics, and the world today. All while sporting one of the damn finest beards I've ever seen. All I have to do is plug in this cable and we can send Marty back to the future. Oh. Deadhead Animation presents Lego Darwin. New episodes every week right here on Deadhead Animation. Taking the piss out of everything.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special report.
Good evening, pasties, and welcome to the Ear Witness News for today, tonight, and tomorrow from the future. Dearly beloved pasties, this year we have witnessed death with a frequency, and as we gather here today to witness another departure from our presence, I am drawn back to the celebrations of death that we have reported on so far this year. Our first celebration was the unsurprising passing of Tartman, a man remembered for being the most prepared Bundyite. Tartman's wish was granted and he died by the bullet. He could not have foreseen the reverence with which every day citizens across the land reached into their pockets to purchase dildos and send them to his memorial fund. However, I am sure that from his grave, wrapped in his beloved blue tarp, he smiled as he clung to his new rubbery weapon. Then just a couple of weeks later, the nation erupted into song, as verily the ding-dong witch was dead.
Yeah.
It is true that the circumstances of his death were somewhat different than our Tartman. However, they were equally as amusing. After all, a man so racist and so bigoted died while biting the pillow. The sweet, sweet irony. This ending could only have been better if he had have died while 1 inch punching a hole in a donut.
Is that a cream-filled donut?
However, today we come together to mourn another death. Our hero was once noble and majestic, sturdy and trustworthy, a symbol of integrity, born at a time of great optimism, when mankind was brimming with new ideas, formulating great works of literature, influencing culture as we once knew it. We are now gathered around the deathbed of our hero as we watch it wither in demise. We humans don't often mourn the death of an elephant, but today we are. Gop was not hunted or killed ruthlessly, unlike Gop's relative, who was hunted by Trump's son. But rather, Gop developed Alzheimer's during the reign of Reagan. Not long after the onset of this disease, Gop developed incontinence as trickle-down economics proved to be the beginning of his undoing. The people longed for Gop to regain his majesty, but sadly they searched in all the wrong places. They formed alliances that to outsiders looked like they would not assist Gop. Unwritten treaties with the racist, the ignorant, the fundamentalist religious, and the warmongers. These were the 4 pillars of Gop's new existence. Gop's facade appeared to limp into its former majesty at the turn of this century, but like all facades, it was not real, and now looking back was just one last whimper before its downward spiral. Gop's supporters thought that fear would drive the animal on, but dementia was too far gone. 8 years ago, Gop, unable to form sentences, only spoke in word salad. Then 4 years ago, with Centaurum leaking, Gott was